It is King Next here, back with another video, and as you can see, it is what F Deku had Esdeath's power part 6, I believe. Yeah, I think it's part 6, and as you already know, it's been like 4 weeks since I've uploaded that what if. And another thing is, you guys may notice that I started branching out a little bit more. I'm trying to extend my content into different anime as well. I don't want to just keep on doing MHA. No, forget that. My Hero Academia what ifs. For obvious reasons, it gets repetitive eventually. So I figured, you know what? Let's do some Naruto and One Piece. I'm going to need you guys to actually watch all of my videos from now on. Or at least, like, dude, my most recent Naruto, I don't know how to describe it, but basically, I am asking you guys to get my most recent video of what if Naruto had, like a jutsu, or like, what if Naruto had Charlotte Linden's powers, or Big Mom's powers, I mean. Yeah, Big Mom's powers. I'm basically asking you guys to get it to at least 150 views, okay? Please. Anyways, where was I? How long is this? Shoot. Alright, so basically, in the last part, Deku had actually fainted right after he had used that time freeze ability. The one that people have been spamming in the comments talking about how, oh, you forgot this, you forgot that Esdeath has this power as well. No, I didn't. I really didn't. I was saving that for this moment. But yeah, Izuku did faint because this was an incredibly new power, and it was incredibly strenuous on the body as well. Most most of the things happen the same as in canon afterwards, with All Might being able to jump into the USJ and take down the Nomu along with the rest of the villains. The Shigaraki is still able to escape, but he has a missing arm now. He has only one arm now. And he is looking at Deku. He is angry. He is livid right now. Not only did they not take down All Might, but he lost his arm to some UA brat, some first year student. He didn't know how it could be any worse than it already was. But back to Deku though. When the teachers saw Izuku's condition, they were incredibly worried for him because he was unconscious. It was almost as if he was in a coma. He was incredibly cold as well. Colder than usual, actually. Then teachers diagnosed, well, Recovery Girl diagnosed him with hypothermia, a severe case of hypothermia. And if he didn't get any treatment quick enough, he could possibly die. So, when the teachers heard this, of course they were alarmed. Not only because of the bad rep it would give UA, but they didn't want to lose a student. A student of theirs. It was like a tragedy on any teacher's part to find out that one of your students have actually died. And the teachers are of course doing everything they can. They even bring in some heroes who have heat-based quirks. They even bring in Endeavor, for crying out loud, just to get Izuku to get warm again. And I'm not sure if that's actually how it works, but so I actually did look it up. That was why I had that small pause. And Yeah, I'm still gonna say they just bring in a whole bunch of heat based quirk users in order to actually help Deku, in order to make sure that he gets over this hypothermia of his, to make sure that he actually survives this. Like some of the procedures that they went through were like recirculating his blood, trying to warm it up, along with having humidified oxygen going into him. All those sort of procedures. It took like 2 weeks actually in order for Izuku to really wake up. And no, not 2 weeks. Let's say 1 week. It took him 1 week in order to actually wake up, and another week in order to actually recover, to actually go through that sort of process of walking again, making sure that his body was alright. And Zuko realizes something. He connects this back to what he did back at the USJ, and he realizes that does this ability of his have something to do with his condition now then? He realizes that, well, he can't use this ability too often. He can't just, stop time. He would have to use it in incredibly dire situations. It would have to be his last technique of the sorts, like his sort of trump card. You see where I went with that? It would have to be his trump card in those sort of situations. He couldn't just spam it whenever he wanted, and most of the same things happen in canon afterwards. Um, you have you have the whole thing with Bakugo confronting that crowd of students in the hallway, Shinson bad mouthing Class 1A, saying for Tetsu, which is a bit of a bad name, honestly. You should slap your parents, Tetsu. How dare they? But yeah, that's it, guys. Sorry, this is long enough. Not forget that. um, Basically, the only thing that's really changed afterwards is when it comes on to UA Sports Festival. When that is finally there, that's when things really take a turn because Bakugo did not win first place in the entry exam. Instead, it was actually Izuku. So Izuku gives his speech talking about how he doesn't really know what to say. He just wants to have a good battle, just for everyone to have a good time and to do their best. And if they didn't, he would be sure to give them a good beating. He would knock them senseless. That's where his sadistic smirk comes into play. Some people are taken aback by that last comment of Izuku, but others actually like this. They approve of what Izuku was saying. Well, most of what he said, besides that sadistic part of Izuku coming out at the last second. When it came on to the obstacle course, Izuku and Todoroki, they have similar ideas actually, where they literally just freeze everybody's feet. And Izuku, he actually just jumps up and bounces on a bunch of people's heads. He uses them as stepping stones, essentially, in order to actually make it past the entry gate. Afterwards, he sees these robots, he sees what Todoroki is doing, he approves of this and does the same. Except he will absorb the ice right afterwards, right after he passes the robots, strengthening himself. And he actually does make a sort of ice blade as well, cutting through some of the robots, still making an obstacle for other students along the way. When it comes on to the tightrope part of the test, Azuku is basically able to constantly mimic Todoroki throughout it all. Todoroki sees this, and as you guys already know, this is a female Todoroki in this What If. They don't like this at all. They even call out Azuku for this, saying, "Hey, stop copying all my moves." Azuku, in response, he says, "Alright, sure." And then he just actually stomps. He stomps right at the not the obstacle course, but the minefield, slams his hands on the what do you call it? What do you call it? When he slams his hands on the ground of the minefield and covers the whole thing in ice. From all of the ice Izuki absorbed back at the beginning with all of the robots, that gave him a lot of strength to use in order to actually do such a thing. Todoroki just slides on the ice because she was not expecting for Izuku to do that. Izuku makes ice skates right after and just slides on the ice. Todoroki curses Izuku and tries to get, get a handle on herself. She looks over to the one arm that she curses. I think the right arm actually. She looks over to her right side and is really considering this for a second. Really considering should she actually use that cursed fire side of hers. But after a quick flashback, she shakes her head, refusing, and just slides her butt down on the ice, trying to glide her way through, trying to make her way through the ice. Azuku, by the time Shota, well, Shota and this What If actually makes it to the what do you call it? To the exit. Both Azuku and Bakugo had already passed her. Azuku was all the way in first place. He'd long been in first place. He'd long passed her. And same for Bakugo. Bakugo cursed himself though because of the fact that Azuku was still able to beat him. So it's pretty similar in canon, where Azuku gets the 10 million points. Um, he gathers a pretty similar group in canon. No, actually, yeah, he gathers the same group as in canon. And he doesn't even actually go for either this time around, though. He doesn't really see him as being that beneficial here, considering his quirk. Azuku is not the head of the horse this time around either. This time it is. I'm going to say. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that the head of the horse this time around will be Tokoyami, for the simple fact that he has a sentient quake. And this quirk of his, it's pretty interesting. I would have went with Uraraka, but she gets motion sickness, especially when she uses a quirk on herself. And I was planning on using her to just float the whole time, but I realized that that's a pretty lame way to go about it. Most of the things happen the same as in canon for most of the teams, except for Azuku's team. Azuku, he just uses his ice throughout the whole time. He actually makes a barrier around them. And it basically covers them for a good majority of the what do you call it, of the whole course, not course, but whatever the name was. Yeah, yeah, whatever this part of the sports festival is called again. I don't really care enough for it. Right afterwards, that's when more teams try to actually break down their barricade, try and break down their sort of fortress. But Azuku made it so that his ice was very thick. So it took quite a while for any teams to really chip down at it to the point where the ice was fragile enough to just break with their hands. By the time that they had managed to do this, it was already halfway through the whole horse thing. I really forgot the name, and I can't be bothered to look it up. That's pretty much it. Yeah. So when when Bakugo and Todoroki come, they blast. No, Bakugo actually blasts. Bakugo actually uses his explosions here. He get manages to chip down at the whole ice wall quite a bit because of his very strong explosions. He was especially trained to use them against Suzuku. With Todoroki, she just slams her ice against the ice, breaking more of the ice along the way. By the time they actually get down to Izuku's team, it's like 1 minute left of this whole part of the sports festival. Todoroki and Bakugo fight each other essentially, trying to get Izuku's headband. But Izuku is pretty smart here. He actually, I don't know, basically he orders Tokiyami to use his Dark Shadow against Bakugo, at least distract him, so that he wouldn't get close to the headband. For Uraraka, he didn't really have to do anything. May not May either. He didn't have either of them really do anything. He even shot ice shards at these two, Bakugo and Todoroki, making them stay their distance. Throughout this all, they didn't realize how much time was really going by. Izuku was doing everything in his power to make sure that they wouldn't be able get to get his headbands. Thankfully, though, it actually worked, and the counter finally went down to 0. When the other teams realized this, they kind of face palmed because they realized just how distracted they were the whole time when they could have been getting down for more points. Bakugo cursed himself once again. Todoroki also cursed herself here because she really wanted to get those 10 million points and really shove it in her father's face. But here's how the rankings went. First place went to Izuku. Second place went to Bakugo. Third place went to Todoroki. And fourth place went to Shinso. Of course, everybody was caught off guard when they heard Shinso's name. No, but not many people really knew who Shinso was. And most of the people that were at the top, they were from hero courses or a mixture of hero courses with some people in between that were of different courses. but they just shrug it off and continue to the next event. I'm going to end it here because I just felt like it, really. No real other reason. So remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe alongside. Be sure to actually watch the videos. I'm trying to, what do you call it again? Trying to branch off from My Hero Academia. Be sure to watch this video right here where Naruto had Big Mom's powers, official, and all that good stuff. King Tyrex out.